Morning, everyone. It's a week since my last check-in with you, my dear followers, and it's now raining in New York City. Hopefully, it's raining in all the drought areas that haven't gotten rain in the last couple of months, and that the flooding in California won't be too severe. But let's talk about politics, and then we'll get back to our climate. Politics today, for those of you who don't remember, we are based on the Constitution. We are a constitutional democracy. According to Rosen, the CEO of Constitution Hall in Pennsylvania, who just wrote a book, In Pursuit of Happiness, he looked upon what did the founding fathers mean by the pursuit of happiness. When they wrote the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, and they talked about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, what did they mean by the good life? Well, turns out they meant the same thing that Maimonides meant when he wrote 813 laws for people to follow, and certainly for government, and stated that kings had to write laws that they followed equally along with the people who were governed. His laws go back to the foundation of Socrates and the other Greek and Roman philosophers. The pursuit of happiness means that you govern with good governance so that you can protect and take care of the people you're governing, because their happiness means you've done a great job. Now, in order to get to good governance in Pennsylvania, they've got to recount the entire state. Why? They can't come up with a winner for the Senate. So, stands to reason. They need a 100% recount, and then they'll know who won. And I'm saying, don't interrupt that process. It's right. That's what has to be done. You can't just count several counties. You need to get a tally of the entire state. And for all those folks in the federal bureaucracy or the federal administration who've been appointed by Congress to act on congressional behalf, don't be intimidated by Musk. There's no reason. He's not attached to Congress. He is a contractor. Only the people's representatives can decide who to cut in our bureaucracy. Remember, those agencies are there for a very good reason. They protect us from harm. OSHA sets up rules and regulations in the workplace so that you're not supposed to have vermin in the workplace. You're not supposed to have it in our food. The FDA is supposed to be well staffed so that they can make sure that our food is clean and safe to eat. The EPA monitors our air. Last week, when we had fires in New York, I had to wear my KN95 mask again. I really couldn't breathe in the smoke. It was affecting my eyes. They were tearing. I was coughing and sneezing. And I am in very good health. Imagine what happens to people who aren't. And all this goes right back to climate change and fossil fuels. There's a direct correlation between the use of fossil fuels, carbon emissions, methane emissions, and our climate. How many people must die before we change our ways? Agriculture was heavily representative at COP29, along with the fossil fuel lobbyists. But they're the culprits. They're the ones who have to change. In China, they're making it a mandate to change. And sure, they're still dependent on coal, but 40% of their GDP is going into green energy. They know their people must breathe, and they must breathe clean air. And that's what they're doing. And the more you develop solar panels, wind turbines, heat pumps, the cheaper it becomes. It's easier to install. And that is, according to USA Facts, one of the fastest growing professions in America. Understanding solar systems so that you can maintain them, and understanding wind turbines so that energy can be maintained, and also so that you can manufacture the hookups from the old decommissioned coal plants to give us the batteries and the storage that we need. We don't have to go back to old. We don't have to be just spinning our wheels on the same old manufacturing. When I hear that they want to retrofit 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant, it sends shivers down my spine. Have we lost our ability to create new? There are third generation and fourth generation nuclear power plants available. China is building fourth generation to scale. Is there something wrong with us that we can't be equally as competitive with them? Remember, most of the old nuclear power plants were designed along Chernobyl. And we all know what happened to Chernobyl, and we know what happened to Fukushima. We don't want the old nuclear power plants. We can build smaller, cheaper, and more efficient. I'm all for nuclear energy. If I can't get fusion, I'll take fission in the short term. But I know fusion's going to be the wave of the future. So there's a lot to do. And also, Trump, yes, he's been elected to be our new president, not by a landslide, but by 49% so far. It might go down, and we don't know where those electoral votes will fall. However, he's got to comply with the Constitution. There are forms that must be signed by him and anyone he nominates for the cabinet. There's a vetting system in our country. Under the Constitution, ethics forms must be filled out. Vetting forms must be filled out. You can't circumvent the Constitution. If you do, then I recommend secret balloting in the Senate and the House, and I would invoke the 14th Amendment, Section 3, where 2/3 of the House can elect to bar anyone who took part in the insurrection of January 6th. It says in the Constitution, if you've taken place in breaking your oath to the Constitution, you cannot run for office and be installed a second time. Well, all those folks who are going to look to be reinstated in Congress or take their seats, they better have complied with the Constitution of the United States, because that's our rule of law. My son, my father, and my grandson live by the Constitution. They were all in the U.S. Army. And you know what? When I stood there and I heard that oath of office being delivered, I was a proud American. I expect all of us to be proud Americans, to see people stand up and say, yes, I took the oath of office and it means something to me. I have a responsibility to my constituents. I have a responsibility to act on their behalf. I want to do a good job, not just so I'll succeed, but so the people of America will succeed. And America will continue to thrive and be number one. That's my feeling about the Constitution. I don't know if it's yours, but think about it. Maybe it's a good way to go. Take care, everyone.